Chapter 31. I'm reading Bones. I parked 3 blocks from Alma Reynolds' building, walked back to her corner, and watched from behind an old, dusty coral tree. Mr. Covert, operations. When I wasn't feeling ridiculous, my mind raced. 40 minutes later, Reynolds hadn't returned, and I figured I'd screwed up and caused her to run. I was sure she'd financed the Pearl with payoff money Duboff had left behind, enveloped passed in the parking lot, donation or bribe. Either way, nothing indicated a link to Duboff's murder. I returned to the Seville and drove a block before Milo called. Huck lawyered up. You got him? Not exactly. Deborah Wellenberg's law firm took up the top 2 floors of our Ice Cube on Wilshire, 5 blocks east of the ocean. Names crowded the door, and Willenberg was ranked second. She was 50 or so, green-eyed and apple-cheeked, with a sturdy body packed into a gray cashmere suit. Platinum rings, diamond earrings, and a triple string of pearls bounced light in interesting ways. The pearls were pinkish silver and graduated in size. My slightly educated guess was 10 to 15 millimeters. Good-looking woman with the confidence to keep her feathered hair the same color as the suit. She deflected Milo's invitation to the station, insisted her office would be preferable. Now she sat behind a leather-top desk, listened to someone on the phone named Lester. Tiffany gilt bronze pieces livened the desk's surface, including an envelope lamp with glass shape crimped to look like paper. The rear wall was devoted to a merry cassette, mother and child pastel, and the perfect image of the tenderness. The absence of family photos or anything kid-related turned great art into prop. Milo and Reed and I stood like supplicants, while Wallenberg laughed at something Lester said. The decor was 1,000 square feet of cut over the top, arterial red brocade walls, layered cake moldings, and copper foil ceilings, teal and lavender, a bussin rug over teak planks. The 14th-story view was charcoal street, aluminum water, rust-colored talons of coastline scratching at the ocean. I tried to figure out if the Vander's house could be seen, decided I was overreaching. Wellenberg said, "You're kidding, Les," and turned in a way that directed my eyes to a sidewall bearing Ivy League degrees and Bar Association awards. She said, "Okay, thanks, Lee," hung up. "Sit, if you'd like, gentlemen." We arranged ourselves in front of the desk, and Milo said, "Thanks for meeting with us, Mrs. Wellenberg. Thanks for making the dangerous trek all the way from the wilds of West L.A. Wellenberg smiled frostily, glanced at her watch. Milo said, "If you know where Travis Huck is, before we get into that, Lieutenant, I'm going on a record. You're wrong about Travis. Couldn't be more mistaken. What evidence do you have to justify naming him a suspect? With all due respect, ma'am, I need to be asking the questions. With all due respect, Lieutenant, I need to prevent a second gross miscarriage of justice. Step 1 in that process is clarifying what you think you know that justifies ruining my client's life again. What's step 2? That depends on how one shapes up. Mrs. Wellenberg, I understand your point of view, but disclosure will take place if and when Mr. Huck is charged with the crime. Sounds like that you've already judged him." Milo didn't answer. Deborah Wellenberg picked up a Tiffany's pen and suspended it between her fingertips. "Sorry for making you come out here for nothing. Do you need your parking validated? Ma'am, if you're harboring Huck, you could be putting yourself in. Now it begins." The veiled threats, green eyes narrowed. "Give it your best shot, Lieutenant. I've already begun the paperwork on a massive civil suit." "Step 2 already," said Milo. "I'm sure we're all busy, Lieutenant. Are you coming or suing at Mr. Huck's request, or is it your idea?" Wellenberg shook her head. "You're not going to pry information out of me. Ma'am, this isn't the time for jousting. We are talking 5 known murders, with several more likely. Brutal, calculated slaughter. Do you really want to hitch your wagon to someone like that? Hitch my wagon? I have no interest in publicity, Lieutenant Sturgis. Quite the opposite. For the last 10 years, I've done corporate litigation because I had to fill my sideshow mislabeled the criminal justice system. 10 years, and said Milo, forgive me, but it is possible that you're out of your element. Or you are, sir, said Deborah Wellingberg. In fact, I know you are. Travis Huck is a decent human being, and I am not bleeding heart, mushy-brained, do-gooder who denies the existence of evil. I've seen plenty of evil in my day. Corporate litigation gets that nasty. Witty Lieutenant, bottom line, I'm not harboring Travis, neither am I aware of his whereabouts, but you've been in contact with him. The pen clicked. I'm going to give you some free legal advice. Avoid tunnel vision and prevent a huge mess for all concerned. Any suggestions about alternative suspects, ma'am? That's not my job. Mo Reeds huffed. If Wellingberg noticed, she didn't show it. Milo said Huck fled. Not the behavior of an innocent man, is it, when that man has been abused by the system? He called you because you saved him before. You advised him not to inform you of his whereabouts or his guilt, that way that he could be subpoenaed to divulge. All legal, said Mrs. Wellingberg, but it skirts the moral issue. If Huck kills again, do you want it on your conscience? Oh, please, Lieutenant. You should write screenplays. I'll leave that to delusional lawyers. Wellingberg shifted his focus to me, searching for the good kid in the classroom. When I didn't respond, she looked at Reed. He said, Huck will be found, tried, and convicted. Make it easy. On who? Let's start with the victims' families, said Reed. Easy for everyone but Travis, said Wellingberg. 19 years ago, he was hauled in like the garbage, tried before a kangaroo court, tortured. Who tortured him? Said Milo. His so-called caretakers. Haven't you read my appeals brief? No, ma'am. I'll fax you a copy, Reed said. Whatever happened back then doesn't change the facts now. You're so sure he's innocent, but you've got nothing to back that up. Wellingberg laughed. Do you really think that you're going to pry facts out of me by insulting me? How about you deliver something in the way of evidence? Go ahead, convince me he's guilty. The only link that you have is casual knowledge of Selena Bass. Milo said. He told you that? Wellingberg said. That seals it. You've got nothing. Why am I not shocked? Reed said. You think that we just picked his name out of the phone book? I think that you're looking for a quick and easy hook to hang your investigation hats on. Milo said. If I told you we had physical evidence, would that change your mind? Depends on the nature of that evidence and how meticulously it was collected. Can you quit, please? Mom, please! I'm trying to freaking read! And that is very annoying! God damn! Mom, what do you think? You're ruining it! Every time! By making my dog bark and everything else! You guys can't shut up for fucking life of you! Ah, damn! All fucking day. Shut up, Frito! I think that you're looking for... depends on the nature of that evidence and how meticulously it was collected. Reed laughed. OJ again. Wellingberg said, think what you want, gentlemen. The fact is, even if I could be a party to this sham, I wouldn't. Milo said, this sham being railroading Travis again. You really should have read my brief. He was beaten so severely that he incurred permanent nerve damage, and what got him in there? Pushing back at a bully, coming up against wealth and power. I said, why didn't you file a civil suit? Wellingberg blinked. Travis wasn't interested. He's not a vengeful person, Milo said. Granted, the first time was an outrage. You're the hero of the story. But that doesn't relate to the present situation. A hero? Don't patronize me, Lieutenant. All I did was basic lawyering. Just like you're doing now. I don't owe you any explanation. And I said, Travis's life is between his release and being hired by the Vanders is a blank. When he got out, you wanted to help him reintegrate, but he disappeared on you. Went homeless. All kinds of things can happen to a disabled young man living on the street. What makes you think that he's the same person you saved? Wellingberg put the pen down, picked up a rocker blotter. Milo said, we're talking 19 years with no litigation identity. The kind of caginess implies something to hide. It implies nothing of the sort. What then? Deborah Wellingberg plinked a long silver nail against the blotter. You have no idea, she said. I said, I think we do. He was traumatized, lonely, in so much despair he wouldn't accept your help in re-justifying. No answer. What part of the picture are we missing, Mrs. Wellingberg? Her eyes lost lawyer steel and turned human. Another quick blink restored them to flat jade discs. I said, what happened to him during those hidden years? The phone rang. She picked it up and said, sure. Put it through. Hi, Mort. What's up? That. I sent it yesterday. You should be getting it any minute. What's that? Absolutely. No, just taking life easy. Making a show of relaxation, she sat back, chatted, did more listening, and finally glanced our way. Feigned surprise at our presence, and I kept talking. A tall blonde assistant in a suit, almost as nice as Wellingberg's, entered the office on lethal heels. Gentlemen, the garage just called. Your car is ready. John Nagin said, there's nothing I can do, Milo, even if I've harbored a fugitive. Did she acknowledge that she was? She claims she wasn't. Do you have evidence to the contrary? It's pretty obvious Huck reached out to her. I'm sure she's got an idea where he's bumped down. Nigel said, you keep putting me in this position. What position? Having to be Mr. Icebath. What you have doesn't mean squat, Milo, and you're too experienced not to know that. We were at the Pacific Dining Car on 6th, just west of downtown. Nagin was demolishing a surf and turf. Reed and I stuck with soda water, Milo had ordered, but he had no appetite, which meant the world was coming to an end. Jesus, John, do you have any idea how high profile this could get? Seen the memos, said Nagin. Also heard rumors about your bosses slowing down the process. No. Well, now my bosses want everything sped up. I told Wellenberger that I thought she'd dummied up deliberately, and she didn't argue. Her situation, that's what I'd do, Milo. John, we've got a goddamn serial lust maniac out there, and she can help us find him? Maybe. She's the hero of Huck's story. I'm sure he turned to her when he rabbied, even without explicit knowledge of his whereabouts. She's likely to have a pretty good idea. Frito, no. Dude, no. She's likely to have a pretty good idea. Prove that she's harboring, and I'll see if there's some way I can twist it in your favor. Surveillance on her would be your choice, but I wouldn't be heavy-handed about it. Deborah's going to be ready for you, and if you overstep, she'll slam you with a civil suit. So lawyers get special privileges, said Reed. Hey, that's why we become lawyers. Nagin forked a huge piece of steak, reconsidered, and sawed it in half. What do you really expect to learn from watching her? She's not going to drive her Ferrari straight to Huck's crib. She's got a Ferrari and a Maybach, the super Mercedes, said Nagin. What's that? $400,000, excluding the gas guzzler tax. Crime pays, said Reed. I drive a Honda. Don't make me cry. I knew Deborah back when I was in school, and she was teaching criminal law. She was a great lecturer, as well as one of the best PDs in the city, Milo said. She make all that money shuffling corporate paper? Not directly, said Nadine. Shortly after she switched to corporate, she was assigned to drawing up the contracts on a bunch of gazillion-dollar .com deals, invested early and cashed out at the right time. I don't know why she bothers practicing anymore. Must be a thrill, said Milo. Ha ha ha. Nadine dipped lobster in drawn butter, sipped his martini. John, if I asked you for a tap on her, I'd say, so when are you opening at the comedy store? All those women dead, John, and maybe the Vander's a kid John maybe with his hand hacked clean off. Nadine looked at his steak and sighed. Milo said, Public's gonna love us wimping out on this. You can't tap her, Milo. She's his lawyer, not his girlfriend, Reed said. Who knows? You've got evidence of an intimate relationship? Not yet. Find that. Find anything that shows me she's behaved illegally, said Milo. If she's his girlfriend, she's the dumbest smart person in the world. His sexual partners tend to end up dead and dismembered. And facing east, I said, wondering if Nadine could find that interesting. He didn't. I really wish I could help you guys. Maybe you should forget about Deborah and find Huck the old-fashioned way, Milo said, meaning shoe leather, interviewing street people, whatever you guys do that brings in the goods. He made a try for his steak and chewed without apparent pleasure. Here's another reason not to piss Deborah off. Once you do get Huck, we could be contending with her at the defense table, and then I'll be the one with the ulcer. You see her putting aside her corporate clients and taking him on. From what you've told me, she believes in him, said Nadine. Even if she's not chief defense counsel, she'll play a role. I know Deborah. Tendencies, I said. Beyond belief, Doctor. Ferrari Maybach, said Reed. She can afford to play Wonder Woman. Must be nice, said Nadine. Chapter 32. I've ridden in a few funeral processions. The drive back to the station had that same stunned despair feeling. Milo said, Smart woman like that, and she's taken in by his bullshit, Reed said, like those losers who hook up with cons in prison. What's behind it, Doc? Usually really low self-esteem and desire for attention, neither of which applied to Wellingberg, but why intrude on their resentment? Milo rubbed his face. All that dough, but her life's empty, so she wants to feel righteous again. Limousine liberals, said Reed. The corners of Milo's mouth twitched, but gave up short of a smile. Haven't heard that one in a while, Moses. That's why my mother said. My father used to call them. Milo said, Any suggestions about changing Wellenberg's mind, Alex? With someone else, I'll try piling on the gory details, victim photos, autopsy shots, emphasize the suffering the woman went through. In Wellingberg's case, it's likely to solidify her resistance, because she sees herself as an Iron Maiden. Saving Huck was a major event in her life, so viewing him as a vicious killer is too threatening. But if you do get some serious evidence, something that appeals to her rationality, you could crack her denial. That's what you were getting at in her office. Huck's not the same innocent kid. No fault of hers. Reed said, We've got blood in the drain, Milo said. I thought of telling her. Didn't want to give her anything to work with. First thing out of her mouth would be ABO, typing not DNA. Reed said, We get a full confession. She'll probably still stand behind him. Poor little victim of the system. He shook his head. Ferrari Debbie. Milo said, Feel like following her, Moses? Sure, said Reed. Department paying for a Maserati. She gives me the slip. Conventional wheels aren't going to cut it. As long as you can get it for $30 a day. I could boost some Hot Wheels, said Reed. But God forbid I should be heavy-handed. Back home and away from their ill humor, I wondered if Deborah Wellingberg had lied about not knowing Huck's whereabouts. Smart people made foolish mistakes all the time. My professional thrived on the fact. But if Wellingberg had overstepped by harboring a dangerous fugitive, my guess was we'd never find out. I thought about Huck's rootless, haunted, the cameo performance as a superhero, saving a baby. Deborah Wellingberg's initial act of kindness had created a long-term bond between her and Huck. What if the same was true but for Huck and Brandy, Lorraine's family? No internet hits popped up for Anita and Lawrence Brackle, but Larry Brackle appeared on the 3-old police blotter from the Daily News. Arrestee, age 43, a Van Nuys DUI bust. No follow-up on that, but an image scan brought up a 2-year-old photo of Brackle celebrating the turkey tippin' fest of a Meadowlark Association bowling club at a Canoga Park alley. A dozen beaming Keeglers. Brackle had earned front row center because size mattered, even compared with the slight woman flanking him. He was a small man, skinny, wiry, with black hair slicked back and sideburns reaching to his jawline. I plugged in Meadowlark Association and come up with the owners group at a condo development in Sherman Oaks. 89 deluxe units on 3 acres north of Ventura Boulevard, but just east of the 101 freeway. Prices ranged from mid-six figures for a one-bedroom hacienda suite to nearly $1 million for 3-bedroom, 2-bath ranchos. High-definition photos, suitcased white, red-roofed modules, softened by ferns, palms, banana plants, and rubber trees. Gracious pathways for strolling. 3 pools, 2 with whirlpool soaking pot spas, and as well as a screening room, a gym with sumptuous steam room and sauna. Nice upgrade from the Silver Lake rental Brackle and his family had called home a decade ago. I checked the names of the other bowlers. None of the women was Anita Brackle. Maybe she had no use for 10-pins. Or Larry's drinking had continued driving her away, along with baby Dean. I searched Brackle's face for signs of dissolution. Saw only a skinny little bespectacled man happy to be among his peers. Copying down the Meadowlark address, I told Robin I'd be stepping out. She said, "This time it's not just restlessness. You've got that heat in your baby blues." I told her about Brackle. She said, "Huck helped the family, so you're helping him." I'm grasping. No grasp to get, no get. She kissed me. "Be careful." When I reached the door, she said, "Be great if she's baby thriving." The reality of the Meadowlark was white stucco grayed by time and pollution of profusion of plants in the need of a trim, a constant overlay of freeway flatulence. Security was mechanical but effective. A deadbolt iron mesh gate. I checked the roster of residents, failed to find Brackle's name, and figured him for long gone or a sublet. And then a listing at the bottom caught my eye. Rancho 5, one of the high-priced units. I was deliberating whether or not to try the direct approach when a FedEx guy came charging through the gate. I caught it before it could swing shut. Made my way past the first 2 swimming pools, both unoccupied and leaf-littered. The haciendas were a collection of 2-story units tucked into the northeast corner and segregated by a low wall of outcut cement blocks. The orange door to 5 was nearly hidden by the broad leaf of a banana that had managed to thrive in the shade but would never bear fruit. I rang the bell. A female voice said, "Larry, forget your key again?" I murmured something that could have been or uh-huh. The door opened on a purelessly thin, brown-haired, middle-aged woman wearing an oversized white jersey top and black yoga pants and holding a cigarette. Bare feet, pink toenails, red polished for the tips of her spidery fingers, A gold chain rested on the arch of one varicose foot. A face perched on the long, graceful neck bore the aftershocks of a beauty. Puckers around her wide, thin mouth gave her a capuchin look. Shadows under her eyes spoke of stories that could never be untold. "You're not Larry," smokers rasp. Olfactory stew of channel and tobacco. "Mrs. Vander." "Who's asking?" I gave her my name and flashed the consultant's ID. "A doctor. Something's happened to Larry?" "No, I'm here to talk to him." "About what?" "Old friends." "Well, he's not here." Kelly Vander began closing her door. I said, "When Mr. Brackle's coming back, it's important." The door stopped moving. "Mrs. Vander, I heard you." Behind her was a big, bright, high-ceilinged room set up with a flat screen and pink leather couches. A half-gallon bottle of Fresca stood on the end table. Music played. Jack Jones, advising some girl to comb her hair and fix her makeup. Kelly Vander said, "He went out for cigarettes." "No problem. I'm happy to wait outside." "What kind of old friends?" "Travis Hucks for one." "Travis," she said. "You know him?" "Why wouldn't I? He works for my husband." "Are you and Mr. Vander in regular contact?" "We talk." "Have you spoken to him recently?" She shook her head. "This has something to do with Simon?" I said. Did Larry help Travis get to the job with Simon?" She sucked in smoke. "I don't speak for Larry, but for anyone. Give my number, I'll pass it on." "I'd rather wait." "Suit yourself." The door edged inward another couple of inches. I said, "Simon hasn't been heard from in 2 weeks. Same for Nadine and Kelvin. They're probably traveling. They do that. 2 weeks ago, they flew from Asia to San Francisco. Any idea where they might be staying?" "I wouldn't know." "What's that got to do with Larry?" "You haven't heard about Travis." "Heard what?" I told her. "That's insane." "What is?" "Travis is doing something like that. He loves us. Loves the entire family. Just about," she said. "Too bad about those women. That's really horrible. Really, really horrible. Jesus." Tugging the neckline of her top. "I'm sure that they're okay, Simon and Kelvin." Nadine. Adorable kid, Kelvin, playing piano like Elton John. He calls me Auntie Kelly." "How often do you see them?" "Not often." "What did you mean by just about?" "Sorry?" "You said Travis loved just about everyone in the family. He loves everybody." Her cigarette hand shook. As ash fell to her chest, she brushed it off, created streaks on the white jersey. "Would you do me a favor? Examine the label. Tell me the laundering instructions." Hooking a thumb to the back of the neckline, she pulled and bent forward, pivoted enough slack for a glimpse of flat chest and puckered sternum. I said, "Dry clean only." "Figures. Travis loves everyone," I said. "Who wouldn't he love?" She flashed brown, corded teeth. The cigarette slipped from her fingers, landed atop her left foot, scattered ashes. It had to hurt. She stared at the smoldering cylinder, as if assessing her loss. I bent and retrieved the cigarette. She snatched it, jammed it back in her mouth. "Sorry to upset you," I said. "Upset? I don't think so. Let me look at that idea of yours." It's the end of those 2 chapters. Until next time. And subscribe if you like my content. Thank you.